Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad that you're with us today to stay curious. It's launch day or launch evening as we're going to launch this rocket behind me with the Endeavour Crew Dragon 7th flight up in the commercial astronaut program with SpaceX. This is during the hot fire test on Tuesday. Look how beautiful that looks up there. And what we're talking about. I'd say hi to Marty over there so I can get Marty in here with me because Marty, we're looking at 3:50 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We're going to be losing some sleep today, my friend. Yeah, you're going to go out to Spaceview Park and sell some T-shirts, I understand.
Yep, be out there at 12:30, and we'll sit down probably 30 minutes after launch.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll launch.
And I'm going up to the Beachside Hotel next to Ron John's in Cocoa Beach and do a moon gaze with some of the guests there. And JAXA astronauts might be there, as well as the Canadian group is staying there at that hotel, Beachside Hotel. So if you're in the area, come up there and I'll put some moonshine in your eyes there. The kind of moonshine you can't get too much of is the beautiful first quarter moon is up. It'll be set by the time they launch at 3:49 a.m., 3:50, I think they're officially saying. It's a 90% go on the weather, and we'll talk a little more about that today on Stay Curious, as we've got a potpourri show here for you. We're going to talk about, this is the date in space history in 1961 when the Saturn V rocket pad was chosen at Cape Canaveral over other places. We're going to talk a little bit about sunspots affecting the furthest planet in the solar system, Neptune. There's some new information from a new satellite that's monitoring pollution levels over America. And then we've got, well, look what we've got today, Marty. 4 astronauts are born on August 24th. How about that? Dick Richards is 77, Anna Fisher 66, Steve Lindsay, how old is Steve there? I got is
63.
He's 62, 63, and Mary Ellen Weber is 61 years old today.
55.
We're going to read, yeah, born in 52. There she would be, yep.
55.
Okay. I think that's a wrong date for her. That'd be 71, Marty, if she was born in 52. That could be wrong for her. But it does say 52. So that'd make her 71. I think she's born in 62. That must be a typo in mine. We'll look that up. We can be corrected later as we go there. But let's talk about we got the crew going up. A rookie commander, Jasmine Mowgli, of a Marine. She will be the commander of this mission. The pilot is Andreas Morgensen, making his second flight for ESA. He was up in space 9 days, I think 7 years ago. Satoshi Furukawa is making his second flight to space. He was on an expedition for over 180 days, I think, in space. And rookie Konstantin Borisov is the cosmonaut going up today. And you see their name spelt in their native language there. So we'll profile those astronauts here in just a little bit. Here they are in their SpaceX outfits there. That was taken, publicity shot out of Hawthorne, California, the headquarters for SpaceX, where the flights are actually launched here, but then everything's transferred over there. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, each one of these individuals here briefly, but how exciting is it for them? I think it's going to go. It's a 90% weather. There's no weather problems today. It's just cumulus clouds there. Could pose a 10% threat at 4 in the morning. You don't see many of those out. So look forward to losing a little bit of sleep, Marty, tonight and seeing a beautiful launch. I'll probably go out to the beach side. I've never really watched anything from the beach out there, Cocoa Beach. So, well, let's look at a little bit about space history today. We always love sharing on Stay Curious things that might not be picked up at other websites. And so we've got the launch site of tonight there. our Merritt Island and Cape Canaveral, the distinctive point nose out there, showing us where we're at. We're over about where those cumulus clouds are on the left over there, Marty. I don't think my hand will reach over there, but yeah, there's Marty's got his thing. These guys show right where we are here. Yep.
Oh, but the launch is right here.
Yep, the launch is right there. The Max Brewer Bridge is way up there at the top, up there to the left.
That's right here.
Yep, there's the Merritt Island Wild. That's Route 3 there. So, did you know, Marty, that Merritt Island was selected for the Saturn V launch site on August 24th, 1961? There's the VAB going up. A couple years later, you don't see many pictures of the VAB like that. Yes, based upon the national space goals announced by President Kennedy in May, NASA plans call for the acquisition of 80,000 acres north and west of the Air Force. Had control of part of it, and to be administered by the Air Force as agent for NASA as part of the Atlantic Missile Range is what it originally was. Other places considered. Here's where we could be having a spaceport. They were considering the Bahamas. They were considering Cumberland, Georgia, on the coast there. Brownsville, Texas, very in the hunt there. Christmas Island, Hawaii. You couldn't have a National Space Center in Hawaii, as much as we love that. White Sands Missile Center was considered to be America's spaceport. But Merritt Island was selected as a launch site for the manned lunar flights and other missions requiring the Saturn. And when this decision was made 61 years ago, there was a Nova class of rockets that was going to basically be the Mars rockets. So 61 years ago, Merritt Island got the tag to become America's spaceport. There's Saturn V going out to the pad, the VAB. What an iconic photograph that is, and how important is Merritt Island to America's space program. Marty, just like we see the Taj Mahal and the Roman Colosseum and other spots around the world, 1,000 years from now, people will come to Merritt Island to see where humans first left the Earth and visited a celestial body, the moon. Well, keep looking up, and there's there. Oh, I forgot I threw this picture in there. A little nostalgia there for everybody. Look back at the way it was on there, 1960s. Kennedy Visitors Complex at the time. I don't know for sure, Marty, but I would think that those are the same rockets in the rocket garden there. I don't even know if they moved them. Did they build everything around that, would you say, Marty, or have any idea?
I'm pretty sure they moved them.
Do you remember going out there back in the old days?
My first time out there was in '68. It wasn't much different than this picture.
Yeah. And now it's just a beautiful, beautiful facility. We love to go out there. Delaware North does an excellent job maintaining it. And over 4,000 visitors a day. That's a slow day out there. So, well, if you have a safe way to look at the sun through a telescope, and that means you're an amateur astronomer that knows how to do things properly, this is how the sun looks today. This is today's sun. You got two big sunspots on the left, one tiny one in the middle, two on the right, and they're all numbered so that amateur astronomers and professional astronomers can keep track of and talk about what they're talking activity on the sun. Now, the sun takes over 30 days to rotate around once, very slow, and it's about 1 million miles across, 800,000 miles across. So this sunspots on the left are going to take over a week to get over to the right side. So those two biggies are probably naked eye, and you'll be able to see them right before the sun sets through the deep atmosphere when you can safely look at the sun. But do not use any binoculars or telescope unless you know exactly what you're doing, because you'll hurt your eyes. So be aware of that disclaimer. Well, why I put that up, Marty, is one of my favorite websites is Space Weather. Spaceweather.com has a lot of interesting, I call it naked eye views of aurora and satellites going overhead, and very interesting. A lot of telescope photos on there too. But Space Weather had a story today that correlates the sunspot activity. Now, as we're looking at the sunspots, 2 years ago, there were no sunspots to be seen. In fact, we went over a year with no sunspots at all on the sun. This is a cycle of 11-year peaks and valleys. And this cycle has been very well known since astronomers have been able to record it. And then tree rings have recorded this type of, that when the sun is very active, trees grow faster. When it's not, they don't. So the rings are different. But this cycle is well known, and actually the sunspots are cooler areas, but the sun is more dynamic and kind of like agitated. It gets excited every 11 years and is at a peak, and then it drops down to a valley and then comes back up to the peak again. Well, astronomers are amazed to realize and figure out that the planet Neptune, 2 billion miles away from the sun, where it gets 1% of the sunlight that we do on Earth, is affected by the cycle of the sunspots. And what we see on the top, the blue globes, are the planet Neptune as seen through the Hubble Space Telescope for the last 6 years, and that the correlation of the peaks and more activity being seen on the cloud bands of Neptune correlate with increased solar activity and increased heat output from the sun. All right. Now, notice what I'm saying here, Marty. The sun affects Neptune 2 billion miles away. And yet, I believe in the climate and global climate change is happening. But none of the models or none of the politicians or none of the experts are talking about the sun's a little bit hotter right now than it was 6 years ago. All right, we're at a solar peak that heats up the sun. It doesn't heat it up like 10 degrees hotter. It's like a fraction of a degree hotter. But that is enough to affect Neptune 2 billion miles away when we're at the solar peak, which is what that graph shows, going up peak. Then 11 years later, 6 years later, you have a trough at the bottom, then a peak, and it's going up. And it correlates with cloud activity seen. And this cloud activity is caused by the ultraviolet light that is hit by the sun here, there. And Marty, I didn't print out my notes again. I didn't print my notes out again. And I tell you what, I really need my notes to do the rest of this show. So I'm going to put this graph up here and go over, and I'm going to print out here for a minute while you look at the eastern United States here. And this is a new satellite that was launched. I'm sorry to have to do this, but I got to. I'm going. And hang on there. This is a satellite showing pollution down the 95 corridor, if you will. And to talk intelligently about that, I got to get my notes. So here we go, print them out. And stay curious, folks. Be right with you. Did we ever figure out when Mary Weber was born?
What's the name?
Weber, Mary Weber.
Okay.
Mary Ellen Weber.
Yes, I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, Mary Ellen
Try
Weber.
to search for her.
All right. We're just, we are warts and all here on Stay Curious. So here I am again. On Thursday, that's today, NASA released the first data maps from its new instrument launched to space earlier this year, and which is now successfully transmitting information about major air pollutants over North America. This data will help decision makers across the country achieve the goal of better air quality, which the Biden administration's supporting a robust climate agenda not only to attack the climate change, but pollution. So this is at noon on August 2nd, 2023, and you see the corridor from New York to Washington with all the cars on it is polluted, and then you've got the up there in the Pennsylvania area, on the upper left up there, obvious pollution over Cleveland and some places like that. So now here is the other contrast of this satellite, launched just 10 miles from where Marty and I are at. There it is later in the afternoon, about 4 o'clock. So you see that definitely there is a moniker there down the I-90 or whatever that interstate is. I think it's the I-95. It goes from Washington to New York too, right, Marty? 95.
Yeah, that's 95.
Yeah, and then Washington D.C. Look at that difference from 4 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody's, and noon when people are out at lunch hour. So particularly up there in Ohio, in the Cleveland area, up there on the left, that is pollution. Okay, and this new satellite is this nitrogen dioxide tropospheric column density is what they call that. And NASA Administrator Bill Nelson talks about the TEMPO is the name of the satellite, tropospheric emissions monitoring of pollution. It's the first space-based instrument designed to continuously measure air quality above North America with the resolution of a few square miles. So our Administrator Bill Nelson says neighborhoods and communities across the country will benefit from TEMPO's game-changing data for decades to come. And this summer, millions of Americans felt firsthand the effect of smoke from forest fires on our health. And the Biden-Harris administration are committed to making it easier for everyday Americans and decision makers to access and use TEMPO data to monitor and improve the air quality that we breathe, benefiting life here on Earth. So we'll be watching this. The data will be shared with partner agencies that monitor forecast air quality, such as the Environmental Protection Agency and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So this rocket is now, we saw this launched, Marty, by a Falcon 9, and now it is giving back data here. NASA is also working with Cambridge, Massachusetts' Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory on this here. So very, very interesting on there. Well, there we got the Endeavour up there. And next we go to talking about the launch of Endeavour. And yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go. That's the whole long picture of it there, of the rocket test on Tuesday morning. Fired up those 9 Merlin engines. It's on a brand new first stage rocket. So we're not going to take any chances. If you ever want to know the chances for a launch, go to the Space Wing, 45th Space Wing forecast page of Space Force. And there's the launch mission execution forecast. They're given a 10% probability of violating any of the rules, which is about as, there's just might be some cumulus clouds in the area, and that's all. So I'd say we're going to have a good launch today, and looking forward to tonight, in the middle of the night. Lose some sleep tonight. So let's look at the astronauts real quick. We profiled them a little bit earlier in the week, and we know that not everybody watches every Stay Curious program, but this is our commander, a rookie commander, Navy helicopter. She's a helicopter test pilot, Jasmine Mogbelli. She's from Iranian parents, born in West Germany, in fact. And she's graduate of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She is 40 years old, Marty, in June. So 40-year-old going to space for the first time. I'm very impressed with her credentials, particularly flying Bell AZ Viper helicopters that were attack helicopters during the conflicts in the Middle East, or Afghanistan, more correctly. Well, she's going to be accompanied to space by this ESA astronaut, Andreas Morgensen, and he was born in 1976, so that makes him 56 years old. There, no, or 46, yeah, 47 years old. He's 47 years old, born in Denmark, Copenhagen. He went to space for almost 10 days on a Soyuz spacecraft in 2015. So it's 7 years since he's been up at the space station, and I'll bet he'll marvel at the changes up there as he's going to be part of the Expedition 70 crew that's going to be staying up there for 5 months. And a rookie cosmonaut is Konstantin Borisov, and he's born 1984, so that makes him 43 years old, and he is 84. Yeah, 30.
37.
Yeah, 37. There you go. He is expected to stay 6 months up on the space station there with the crew. We'll always have a Russian as part of the agreement in our International Space Station agreement. So whatever conflicts here on Earth are going on, we are brothers in arms once in space. And there's Mogensen, and we go this way to JAXA astronaut Satoshi Furukawa, and he has been in space 167 days on a Soyuz spacecraft, and so he will be on his second spaceship, a Crew Dragon there. So what we know about Furukawa here, he's an aquanaut and he's a cavenaut. Very experienced in that. 24 years between that he's been with JAXA, Japanese Space Agency. So he's anxious to get up in space and spend some time up there. He's already been up there for 167 days during Expedition 28-29. That was in 2006, about that time frame there. So good luck to all of them as we wish them Godspeed and a safe launch as it's the 11th commercial crew. It's the 7th, 8th, 9th. That'd be 11 launches crewed overall for SpaceX. And this adds to it with these 4 astronauts going up, 2 rookies and 2 experienced astronauts. So looking forward to that today. Losing some sleep. Finally, getting to our happy birthdays here. And with the astronaut pin there, and Dick Richards, born 1946. Ellen Weber's 62, not 52. That's a typo on my part there. So let's look at him a little bit up close there. There is Richard Richards, born August 24th, 1946 in Key West, Florida, but he grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. There he is with our friend Charlie Walker. I sent that picture to Charlie about an hour ago, Marty, to tell him we were going to be talking about him. Charlie is a mission specialist, or no, payload specialist. And payload specialists do not get an astronaut pin or jacket or any of that good stuff. But Charlie could care less. He's been up in space 3 times. And but there he is with Richard Richards. Like I said, he grew up in St. Louis, born in Key West, Florida, Navy captain. He was pilot of STS-28, a Defense Department mission. He flew commander of 3 missions. So Marty, an unusual pilot once and then a commander 3 times. He deployed Ulysses in 1990 on STS-50. He was on the microgravity lab, and then he was on Discovery in 1994, 34 days in space. Now, Anna Fisher, there she is, bless her heart. She's the first female astronaut. She was in the first female astronaut group of 6 in 1978, and she was the 6th woman and 4th American to fly, and the first mother to go to space. Her only mission is the second flight of Discovery in 1984. and her career got stymied by the Challenger loss of life, so she left NASA. She was married to astronaut Bill Fisher. She was born Anna Lee Tingle. Tingle is her maiden name. And Marty, we've seen her a couple times out at Space Center. Delightful lady, loves talking about her space experience there. I don't know if you remember anything to add to it, Marty, but she was on the 10th anniversary panel of Discovery and had a lot of fun with that. She's a very, very giving person and talks a lot about her career to inspire the next generation of all astronauts out there. And Steve Lindsay was pilot of STS-87 and then 95, John Glenn's flight. And he was commander of 104, 121, and 133, the last mission of Discovery in 2011. Those missions totaled nearly 63 days in space, and Lindsay has been involved with the Dream Chaser by Sierra Nevada, at least within the last few years. Don't know if he's left that or not, but he is born in 1960, so he's 63 years old today. And born today, Mary Ellen Weber, one of more than 24 astronauts graduating from Purdue University. She was in the 14th group of NASA astronauts in 1992. 2 shuttle missions, STS-70, delivered a communications satellite, TDRS, to orbit. And then she was on 101, the 3rd mission devoted to International Space Station construction, where she was involved with the robotic arm there. So she's currently with Stellar Strategies, with her husband, providing consulting services and strategies for operations in high-stake business ventures. And she's a speaker and talks to a lot of groups out there on the speaking circuit. Yeah, Marty.
Yeah, Mark, if I'm not mistaken, I think Anna Fisher was the second female Capcom, Sally Ride being the first.
Oh, okay.
On STS-2.
Great. That's a good thing to add, Marty. And of course, being an astronaut and talking to astronauts up in space is very reassuring. You know them as good as you know anybody else. So I've always thought that's a great system that was put in place even in the Mercury and Gemini days, where astronauts talking to astronauts in space. So that's an important job because they also are kind of listening to the tone of voice and can kind of read in between the lines of what's going on up there in space. So thank you, Marty, for adding that. Finally, we'd be remiss if we didn't again congratulate India for landing on the moon successfully, the first spacecraft to land at the South Pole. And though I have been scouring the internet almost every hour looking for new pictures from the surface, because the landing, well, let's just read what I got in my notes here. It was at 8:33 Wednesday morning. About 4 hours later, the India Space Research Organization, ISRO, they shared a set of 4 images of the lander going down. I did see before we went on air that there's a video out of the landing. So what was revealed within the hours before we went on at 4 o'clock today was that the rover has been successfully deployed. It's called Pragyan, a Sanskrit word for wisdom, and so that they have announced that the successful deployment of their rover has ramped down from the lander and India has taken a walk on the moon. And there's one of the close-up pictures that we could find up there. You just see the lander shadow behind me on the right there. And the India Space Research Organization shared the images on X. You know what X is, Marty?
No.
X is formerly Twitter. Well, Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he's changed it to X. And it's just an X, like SpaceX. So anyway, we are so happy that this has happened. I can't wait to see some of the pictures from the rover. It's got a spectrometer on it to go up and analyze rocks and soil, and they're going to be looking for frozen water up there. Here's an engineering picture of that little rover. Doesn't look very big. It looks a little bigger than Sojourner, but in my estimation, that's only got to be about 3 feet. Not too many things around there. I know the size of. There's a camera tripod there in the foreground, and it doesn't go up really the 3 feet of that camera tripod. It's got a solar panel. The platform that you see there with the solar panels on the side, that will operate as long as it can in the solar light. They know that they'll lose sunlight at the pole maybe for 2 weeks, and then they hope that maybe they'll rejuvenate and they'll get another lunar cycle out of it. Because you have 2 weeks, 14 days of sunlight, and then 14 days of darkness on one specific spot on the moon. So we know Doug Forrest knows that. We got Fox McCloud watching, Bill Whiting, Dave Stange with his granddaughter. Hope she's learning a little bit here. Tom UCX watching up in Pennsylvania, made it safely home. Neil 1030's watching. And Carlton Bailey, hope you had a happy birthday. I couldn't break through the Carlton Bailey code out there, as I kept getting a phone call on my phone that the cellular service wasn't working. But Carlton, hope you had a good birthday, and I hope you have some great pictures we'll be sharing with everybody that you get tonight of the crewed launch, as we know CB will be out there. So, Marty, that's what we got to share with everybody today. Quite a potpourri of space news, future and past. And so cool that 61 years ago, it was decided, or 62 years ago now, 1961, to launch our rockets from here on Merritt Island. So we hope everybody's enjoyed today's program. Friday, we're going to look at some Future Friday at a big balloon that they've got to build here at our Titusville airport and launch people up to a 6-hour leisurely tour of the sky. We'll check all that out with us all tomorrow. And, of course, follow up of what we pray will be a successful launch of the next 4 astronauts going to the space station. Once they make it up to orbit, they'll join the 7 on the International Space Station. That'll make 11. And then there's 3 Chinese on their Heavenly Palace space station. So we'll have 14 people in space, at least for a few weeks. So, Marty, thank you for everything over there on Streamlabs. If everything's good, I'm going to tell everybody thank you for watching Stay Curious on YouTube. That helps us monetize the program. We do advertise it on Facebook, and you can click at the bottom there and go over and watch YouTube. You don't have to subscribe to YouTube, but if you do, you can donate to us there on the donation ledger there beneath your screen. So hope you do. Help us all we can. Our nonprofit is always needing funds because we don't generate our own funds in manufacturing anything. So we hope that you can come and see us, make an appointment to take a vacation down here on the Space Coast here in Titusville and see our wonderful museum where for over 20 years we've been preserving the birth of America's space age right here in its delivery room, Brevard County. So until tomorrow when we look at some Future Friday things going on, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.